Hey guys, welcome back to Manicuro Custom Guitars. And welcome to the very first episode of What Could Possibly Go Wrong? Great Guitar Build-Off 2021 edition. So, what could possibly go wrong when building a guitar? To be precise, when finish or applying finish to a guitar body. Well, let me tell you, a lot of things can go wrong. And honestly, everything went wrong when I was applying finish to this body. So at this point, the body is finished, it's done. If you can clearly see, it has a nice gloss to it, which originally shouldn't be gloss. I will come back to that later on. And to get to this final result, it was a complete nightmare. So let me start from the beginning. So in the last episode, you saw me putting some primer on the body, and I don't know what happened to that primer. Maybe it was expired or something like that, because after 2 or 3 days, it wasn't dry. It was still tacky. At that point, I had to decide whether to either put the base coat on it or remove that primer and get a decent one and use that primer. So I decided to remove the old primer and do a new primer. And that was easy to say than to do. Since the primer was still tacky, when I was hitting it with the sandpaper to remove it, the sandpaper was clogging quite immediately. So I ended up scraping everything using a razor blade, a Stanley knife blade, and that took quite some time. After that first incident, I put new primer, I mixed some white base coat and sprayed the base coat, and this time it went quite well. Next step would be adding the pigments, the color changing chameleon pigments. And as I always said, I was going to try on a white base coat, and I was going to try on a matte lacquer rather than doing a gloss. I always say this was an experiment, and boy, I failed to it. I finished putting the lacquer with the pigments, and well, the result isn't really what I was hoping for. I mean, the color shifting isn't really there. I mean, maybe it looks white in the camera, but there's a little bit of shiny to it from the pigments, but things aren't looking very nice. And even being matte finish isn't really working out for me. So at that point, I have a couple of options. Either I sand everything down, put a black base coat, mix some other pigments with the lacquer and spray, and that I would know that it will be the effect that I wanted, but using a gloss lacquer. Or I could have sprayed the matte at the end. Yeah. But to save some of that work and time, I wanted to try something else before. In fact, I did mix some gloss lacquer with some pigment, and I sprayed a couple of coats to see how it goes. And to be honest, I like it. I mean, the color changing isn't really there, but there is some sort of blink to it. In fact, if you see it in light, if you see the body in a light source or in the sun, you can clearly see some sparkle, like a pearl sparkle effect, which is not bad at all. After putting the gloss with the pigment, it was time to seal everything with the final coat of lacquer. And well, for some reason, and I want to state a fact, I'm not an expert sprayer or whatever, but this time the lacquer, I had really big trouble making a nice flat coating. I was getting so much orange peel, and I said I will wet sand later and hoping to get a decent finish. In fact, wet sanding took some elbow grease to get a decent result, and at this point I'm quite happy with the result. I mean, the finish isn't perfect, but I can live with it. Now let's talk about the neck. The neck was very straightforward. I just put a couple of coats of matte lacquer. I don't want to deal with buffing out. Doing a gloss lacquer, I sprayed on everything, and then I carefully scrape down the lacquer from the frets. And off camera as well, I managed to level and crown the frets, and this neck is ready to be installed. In the next episode, I will be putting the guitar together, all the parts, the hardware and electronics, and it will be most probably the last episode of the series, just in time for the competition. If I'm not mistaken, the deadline of the competition is at the end of June. After that, I just need to sort out to do a little demo video. I believe some of you are aware that I don't play guitar myself, I just build them. So I'm arranging something with some of my friends to do the demo for me. If you're new to this channel, you're enjoying what you see, please, I invite you to subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you will be aware about my future releases. I do CNC and guitar building related content. If you have any questions, please leave them down in the comment section down below. I'll do my best to answer them for you. So guys, until the next time, take care and goodbye.